Minister Lim Hng Kiang.
Mr. Chairman, I thank members for your comments and suggestions. Mr. Lee Chia Sing asked about the outlook for the global economy in 2018 and the implications for the Singapore economy. The global economy ended on a firm note in 2017, posting the broadest growth since 2010, according to the IMF. We expect global economic growth to pick up slightly in 2018, partly on the back of improved growth prospects in the US due to the recently approved tax reforms. However, as compared to 2017, growth in most of Singapore's key final demand markets, such as the Eurozone, China, the newly industrializing economies, and ASEAN 5, is projected to moderate or remain unchanged. At the same time, while global macroeconomic risks have receded to some extent since the end of 2017, there remain some downside risks to global growth. First, there remains concerns over protectionist actions which could disrupt global trade and economic growth if they translate into trade barriers. Second, the US economic recovery is in a relatively mature stage of the cycle. An upside surprise in inflation could lead to a faster than expected normalization of the US monetary policy, with consequent impact on the US and the global economy. Against this backdrop, Singapore's economic growth is likely to moderate in 2018, but still remain firm. Specifically, MTI expects the Singapore economy to grow by 1.5 to 3.5% in 2018, with growth likely to come in slightly above the middle of the forecast range. We expect the performance of our sectors to vary. The manufacturing sector, alongside externally oriented services sector, such as the finance and insurance, transportation and storage, and the wholesale sector, wholesale trade, are likely to sustain growth due to firm external demand. Growth is also expected to broaden to domestically oriented services sectors like retail and food services as consumer sentiments improve in tandem with the ongoing recovery in the labor market. However, the performance of the construction sector and the marine and offshore engineering industry is likely to remain lackluster due to weak operating conditions. We are experiencing three major global shifts. First, rapid technological change. Innovation cycles have shortened, and new technologies are disrupting many sectors. Second, global value chains are changing as major trading partners promote insourcing and move up the manufacturing value chain. In the US, the Trump administration has highlighted its plans to boost its manufacturing sector. China has embarked on a Made in China 2025 initiative, and India has its Made in India initiative too. Third, there is a shift in global economic weight towards Asia. We are witnessing the rise of China, India, and Southeast Asia, with a growing middle class, increased urbanization, and infrastructure development efforts such as the Belt and Road Initiative. To strengthen our competitive edge, we must therefore continue to strengthen our linkages, innovate, and deepen our capabilities to prevent being displaced by the global shifts that I mentioned just now. Looking ahead, we recognize two major drivers of economic success: internationalization and innovation. Dr. Tan Wu Meng asked about our trade priorities and whether our pursuit of free trade agreements is still relevant in the current global economic climate. As a small country with an open economy, connectivity is core to Singapore's survival and prosperity. Having free and open markets is critical for Singapore's development. It is by staying open to trade, people, and ideas that we can participate in global growth and build the deep capabilities needed for our people and companies to access new markets, onboard cutting-edge technologies, and create good jobs. Singapore, therefore, remains committed to the multilateral and rules-based trading system. Over the years, we have built depth and breadth in our international linkages. We have an extensive network of 22 implemented free trade agreements and economic partnership agreements with 33 trading partners. Our FTAs have helped our companies benefit from tariff savings of over 1.1 billion Singapore dollars in 2016. To illustrate with an example, plastics product manufacturer Singa Plastics Limited have taken advantage of several of our FTAs, for example, the ASEAN Trade in Goods Agreement, the ASEAN-Korea FTA, as well as the Singapore-Australia FTA, to grow its business and maintain competitive pricing for its exports into these countries. The company's exports have increased by close to 30% since it began using these FTAs. As Singa Plastics also exports to France, Germany, and Greece, it is keenly waiting the ratification of the EU-Singapore FTA. We will continue to enhance our connectivity by strengthening connections with existing trading partners, as well as forging new connections with emerging markets. We will continue to work with the European Commission to expedite the ratification of the EU-Singapore FTA. We review our FTAs from time to time and upgrade them to ensure that they remain relevant and useful to our businesses. There is, for example, the ongoing negotiations with China to review and upgrade the China-Singapore FTA. The upgrade looks to deepen bilateral benefits by enhancing areas such as investment provisions, trade facilitation, rules of origin, and improved market access for Singapore businesses, especially in the services sectors. We are expanding Singapore's connectivity by joining regional FTAs such as the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, or CPTPP, which will be signed next week, and the ongoing Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP. Singapore is also negotiating FTAs with major regional blocs such as the Eurasian Economic Union and the Pacific Alliance. Mr. Randolph Tan observed that more should be done to promote the opportunities of the CPTPP to our small and medium enterprises. Our pursuit of FTAs is for the benefit of our companies and their workers. We will continue to work with the Singapore Business Federation and the trade associations and chambers to outreach efforts to help our companies, in particular our SMEs. These efforts include company outreach sessions, FTA training courses, and even one-on-one sessions to follow up on specific concerns or opportunities which companies are keen on. Mr. Hendrik Kwek and Ms. Sun Xueling asked about the government's plans to help Singapore companies take advantage of the shift in global economic focus towards Asia. Indeed, Asia's growth brings about many opportunities with rising consumption as well as demand for infrastructure in Asia, offering significant export and investment opportunities for Singapore-based companies. We are working with China on commercially meaningful areas in its Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI. The BRI has the potential to foster regional cooperation, enhance connectivity, and accelerate infrastructure development across Asia. Singapore companies are well placed to tap on BRI opportunities. For instance, Singapore and China have recognized our strong complementarities and are jointly developing the China-Singapore Chongqing Connectivity Initiative Southern Transport Corridor. which aims to improve connectivity between Western China and Southeast Asia. 3 Singapore companies, Pacific International Lines, PSA International, and YCH Group, have entered into 2 joint ventures with Chongqing companies to steer the development of the Southern Transport Corridor projects. We are also collaborating with the government of Andhra Pradesh in India to develop the state's new capital city of Amaravati, as well as to promote greater economic collaboration with Andhra Pradesh. In 2017, Ascender Singh Bridge and Sembcorp Development formed a Singapore consortium to master develop the commercial core of Amaravati together with its government. Since then, our companies have been actively exploring smart city urban solution opportunities in Amaravati. Closer to home, ASEAN has strong potential as a market. We are strengthening our engagements with ASEAN through both regional economic integration as well as bilateral initiatives with the ASEAN countries. Ms. Cheryl Chan, Mr. Henry Kwek, Mr. Lim Hng Kiang, and Ms. Sun Xueling asked about our plans to work with other ASEAN member states to unlock ASEAN's potential to benefit Singapore and Singaporeans. As a region, ASEAN is making good progress in deepening economic integration under the ASEAN Economic Community, or the AEC. The prospects are good. ASEAN is currently the 6th largest economy in the world and enjoys a steady growth rate of 5%. By 2030, ASEAN has the potential to become the 4th largest single market in the world after China, the US, and the EU. Despite the rising nationalistic tendencies and anti-trade sentiments elsewhere in the world, ASEAN has stayed on course in its trajectory of regional economic integration. ASEAN is also navigating the rapid pace of technological change and digital disruption. For businesses seeking to enter or expand their presence in ASEAN markets and beyond, the AEC, since its realization in 2015, has lowered entry barriers, reduced transaction costs, widened choices for consumers, and generated job opportunities in the region. Take, for instance, Trends Home Electrical. The company started out as a single home appliance shop in 1998. Today, their products are carried by over 450 retailers in Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand. It has been using the ASEAN Trade in Goods Agreement since 2015 for its products to enjoy tariff savings and has experienced a close to 15% increase in exports since then. Trends Home Electrical plans to continue innovating, upgrading its capabilities, and further expand into Southeast Asia to capture the growth opportunities there. At this juncture, Mr. Chairman, I would like to clarify Mr. Lim Hng Kiang's comment that while AEC was established by end of 2015, but ASEAN failed to achieve 1/5 of the 506 measures and had deferred them for 10 years to 2025. It is true that ASEAN did not quite achieve all 506 measures in 2015. We achieved about 80% of them, but we have not neglected the rest. We continue to track, monitor, and work on the rest of the measures. And I'm happy to report that to date, 88% of the AEC measures have been implemented. So we are not deferring them to 2025. And this year, as part of Singapore's ASEAN Chairmanship, we are pursuing an ASEAN agreement on e-commerce to help our businesses expand and leverage on the e-commerce market potential in Southeast Asia. The ASEAN e-commerce scene is still at its infancy, with some companies finding it confusing to navigate the varying e-commerce regulations in various ASEAN countries. This agreement that we are aiming to sign this year will streamline some of these regulations so that aspiring entrepreneurs and SMEs can market their products and services regionally with greater ease and make it safer to send and receive electronic payments. With this agreement, companies like Cowear, a local winter wear and travel accessories retailer, can expect to use e-commerce solutions to expand into the ASEAN region more easily. Cowear has successfully entered the Indonesian market and plans to venture into the wider ASEAN markets, including the Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam. Mr. Chairman, our strategy of engaging ASEAN will also take place at the bilateral level. We will press on with our suite of bilateral initiatives to deepen our economic linkages and help our companies take advantage of the opportunities in our neighboring ASEAN countries. We will intensify our engagements with our long-term partners, such as Malaysia and Indonesia. New collaborations, such as the high-speed rail and the rapid transit system, will enhance bilateral connectivity, business links, and people-to-people exchanges between Singapore and Malaysia. Enterprise Singapore will continue to explore areas of synergies in Indonesia. The Kendal Industrial Park in Central Java, a joint venture between Sembcorp Development and an Indonesian company, is one example. We hope to be able to facilitate more of such partnerships in future. We will also continue to extend our reach to other ASEAN countries such as Myanmar and Vietnam, where our companies have strong and sustained interests. Mr. Chairman, the second major driver of our economic success is innovation. With shifting factors of production now favoring technology-intensive economies, Singapore's focus on innovation and technology puts us in a position of strength to transform our installed base, capture new investments, and create new solutions for the market. Our strength in innovation and technology has been developed through consistent research and development efforts over the years, which has raised Singapore's global competitiveness and enabled many of our sectors to move up the value chain. Beyond R&D, we are also making a strong, committed push towards building innovation networks and partnerships to link up companies across major innovation hubs. This is a reflection of the nature of innovation in the digital age and the importance of cross-market perspectives for businesses to reap new opportunities. The Global Innovation Alliance, or GIA, was launched last year and seeks to strengthen Singapore's connections to major innovation hubs around the world. It creates more opportunities for students, entrepreneurs, and businesses to gain overseas experience, connect, and collaborate with their overseas counterparts. The connections facilitated under the GIA allows ideas and talents to cross-fertilize across different innovation hubs and provide access to interact with and identify local partners for collaboration. This injects vibrancy into our local innovation ecosystem and bolsters our value proposition as a springboard for foreign companies to come, test-bait new ideas here before expanding into the region. A key component of the GIA is to create a network of innovation launchpads around the world. We recognize that our institutes of higher learning, companies, and agencies have already established their own networks abroad. The GIA seeks to integrate them into a single network that companies can readily tap on to launch their innovations into the relevant markets. My colleagues will share further on the progress of our R&D efforts and GIA initiative later on. We will also take advantage of our ASEAN chairmanship to work on an ASEAN Innovation Network, or AIN. The intent is to strengthen the networks between the innovation ecosystems in ASEAN. This will further enable our companies to expand abroad and help them to better respond to demands from the increasingly sophisticated and growing consumer base in our region. Mr. Chairman, this focus on internationalization and innovation is part of our larger industry transformation efforts. We announced the 4.5 billion Industry Transformation Program in Budget 2016, recognizing that each sector is different and that transformation coordinated at the sector level can deliver more targeted results. In this vein, we introduced the Industry Transformation Maps, or the ITMs. The ITMs are designed to keep our industries competitive and generate growth for Singapore. Each ITM takes into account the unique circumstances of the sector and customizes efforts through the 4 key pillars of innovation, productivity, jobs and skills, and internationalization. We have launched 22 ITMs to date, and I'm happy to inform Mr. Liang Eng Hwa that we will have rolled out all 23 ITMs by the end of this month. Moving forward, we will continue to refine the ITMs together with our partners, working closely with all stakeholders, including companies, trade associations and chambers, unions and workers. My colleagues will also elaborate further on the progress of our ITMs and our restructuring efforts. Dr. Tang Wu Ming asked about our strategy to help our companies remain competitive and support sustained growth, especially given our overheads and cost structure. Along the same vein, Mr. Leon Pereira asked about the government's approach to keep industrial land costs competitive. The government monitors business costs closely to ensure that we remain competitive. In 2017, the overall unit labor cost, or ULC, for the economy fell by 0.3%, moderating from the 2.0 increase in 2016. However, there are differences across the different sectors. While manufacturing ULC declined by 8% on the back of strong productivity gains, ULC for some services sectors, such as accommodation and food services sector, rose by 2% as wage growth outpaced productivity growth. The overall ULC is likely to see a modest increase this year. Wages are expected to rise amid a gradual recovery in the labor market. The key, therefore, for companies to manage their labor costs and have sustainable wage growth for Singaporeans is to have continued productivity growth. For companies in the manufacturing sector, rental costs constitute a relatively small proportion of business costs and is usually less than 2% on average. We have nonetheless taken measures to ensure that industrial land costs remain competitive. First of all, JTC benchmarks its land prices internationally to ensure that they are competitive. Second, the government releases land for private sector industrial developments through our half-yearly industrial government land sales program to ensure that there is sufficient land and industrial space to meet demand and to support our economic growth, as well as to maintain the stability of the industrial property market. With an increase in the supply of land and industrial space, the industrial price index have decreased by 16.6% from its peak in 2014, while the industrial rental index have declined by 13.4% from its peak in 2014. Third, we have also made public the statistics on industrial space prices, the rents, as well as occupancy rates to improve transparency and to help companies make informed decisions. We must continue to take bold strides to seize opportunities to innovate and not let our domestic constraints of a tightening labor market and scarcity of land to hold us back. Mr. Chairman, we have put in place initiatives to ensure that our companies remain competitive and are well poised to tap into growth areas and take up future challenges posed by the global economy. Coupled with the positive growth forecasts in the year ahead, I would like to encourage our companies to take advantage of the firm global economic prospects to persevere on their transformation and growth journey. We welcome companies to be actively engaged in our efforts as we work to expand Singapore's economic space through building and deepening linkages and establishing innovation networks to foster relationships and to create opportunities. Over the next decade, our collective efforts should enable us to grow by 2 to 3% per year on average. This is how we can work together to create an economy that can offer sustainable wage growth and good jobs for all Singaporeans. Thank you.